Last time on the morning show, this happened. Today is at Kendrick Lamar concert. It's at the Forum. So I wasn't able to get tickets to that thing, nor did I try, to be honest. But for anybody who's able to get people in, I have an offer for you. You see, the Kia Forum is about 1 mile away from my house. And if you can get me in, I offer you the ability to park in my driveway for free. The savings. This is previously on a morning show. That might not sound like much. And I'm here to tell you the savings would be incredible. Like, there's going to be 10,000 people at this show. I'm sure there's 500 of them who could get me in because they could put my name on. This is 2 days ago. This is the morning of the show. I'm just offering. You're going to save $50 parking in my driveway. Even if you just parked here and took a lift, we could take separate lifts. It's fine. I'm just wheeling and dealing. You hear me wheeling and dealing? I'm just trying to go to the Black People Show that's by my house on Juneteenth for free, and not even free because I'm bartering. I am bartering parking in my driveway. In the spirit of the holiday, somebody get me in this show. I felt like I should at least ask. I should put it out there. You never know. And I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna make it into an Instagram reel. I did do that. This is the TikTok we're watching. I didn't do the YouTube coverage on the day. I got slightly less than maximum on the day. I'm gonna get goddamn enterprising today. I did get enterprising. That's what happened. But I didn't. It's Juneteenth. Today is at okay. It's gonna loop again, so we don't need to hear any more of that. We can go back to this visual here and play it some more. So look, I made it into the show, and now we can officially say that the morning show is powerful. I made it in by the power of the morning show. In my head, I'm seeing a bunch of local commercials like they used to do for like Larry H. Parker. Rest in peace, Larry H. Parker. But I feel like local LA commercials used to be like, Larry H. Parker got me 17 million, from when somebody slipped and broke their ankle mopping at a Wendy's or something like that. So I got the very first morning show testimonial. The morning show got me into the Juneteenth concert at the Forum on the day of by my house. And it is a Juneteenth miracle because, from what I'm to understand, this show sold out almost immediately once the tickets went on sale. And for people who were trying to buy a ticket after they sold out, because just like all events, the robots buy all the tickets first, and then resellers resell the tickets. And for people who were trying to go to the show after the robots bought all the tickets, the lowest ticket price was $400 American dollars. $400. The morning show got me into this show for free. All I had to do was burn calories walking 1.2 miles from my house to the Forum. And that's what I did. So what happened is I put this video out. And the morning show is powerful. Matter of fact, in the Discord, if other people want to present testimonials, we'll make a little commercial out of it. And then we'll put that all over the internet too. If you have a morning show testimonial and you're in the Discord, you should record yourself doing the video, and then we'll stitch together a commercial like Larry H. Parker used to do. But anyway, I put this video up and around in places, and a bunch of people saw it. The way the spirit of it for me was like, okay, I'm going to kind of do this for content, but I'm also going to kind of do this to see if really I can get into the show somehow. Like, the worst that could happen is I don't get into the show, but still I made a funny video that I liked and I'd stand behind anyway. I wasn't going to take it down. So in the video, I offer the ability to park into my driveway because I do think that would have been some savings for anyone who had been interested in the savings. But I did not have to offer my driveway. I didn't have to trade driveway access. It turns out there was a mysterious benefactor who saw the video. Somebody who I know from music, who I don't think they would like me to tell people that they were my mysterious benefactor, but it's somebody who I didn't realize had a business relationship to Kendrick's team. I didn't know that at all. If I'd have known that, I just would have asked. I wouldn't have had to make any sort of video. I just would have asked them. But yeah, they saw the video and they texted me like, "Yo, I'm gonna see if I can get you in there." And so I think we streamed what from like 9:40 to 11:40 that day. By the time I clipped that video and put it up, it was 12 something. Let's say 12:30. By 3:30, so it's 12:30 on the day of the show. The show starts at 4. By 3:10, I had an email with a ticket link in it. And so at 3:30, I started walking to the show. And yeah, so I walked there like I said I would because it's 1.2 miles from my house. The issue with walking, though, this is the issue with walking, is that when you go outside, you have to wear clothes. And it was a particularly warm day. And I was walking a little over a mile. So by the time I got to the venue, I had like a full back sweat, like a full like stream of sweat down my back. It was not the smartest way to walk to a show with a lot of people who are going to be like dressed really well and nice and looking good. Like, you know, my clothes were all put together, but I knew that that right underneath the fabric on the back of me, there was a river. There was a river of sweat. So that part was a little dumb. Like I should have probably wore less clothes. Like there was in the spectrum of clothing, I kind of landed right here in the middle at like clothed. Like I wasn't overdressed, but I should have went a little bit more towards underdressed. I think for my comfort. Like I should have went with something like this, but I didn't. I had a full T-shirt on with like some embroidery on the front of it, so it was just sweaty. It was moist. I walked into the show moist. Secure. Oh, I took a couple of photos too. I'm gonna show a couple of the photos I took. So this is the photo I took. I had a full back sweat by the time I took this photo. The pop out. This is pretty cool. I live by the forum, so I see the forum all the time. Not everyone is smart enough to use the columns in their signage and integrate them like that. So that was pretty cool. And this is the box office where I thought I needed to go to because my name was on the list, but it turns out I didn't have to go to the special box office. I just was able to walk right into the entrance and do a ticket scan thing. Security was interesting. Like I said, I have a lot of notes here. Security was interesting. This is the forum, fits over 10,000 people, sold out. My one takeaway from security is all they were really worried about was bag size. That's really all they were worried about. Like if your bag was bigger than this, you wasn't gonna bring that bag in. But anything you had in a bag smaller than that, you could pretty much bring it. You could pretty much bring it. They made a show of looking inside small bags, but they weren't really concerned with what was in your small bag. So you could have basically gotten anything in there that you could fit in a small bag, aside from a pistol. I do think they were looking for pistols. Pardon me. So this show was at the forum that we're seeing the footage of that I was in the house for. Is Inglewood Forum, Kia Forum. Lakers used to play there. While I was there, I was thinking about other shows I've seen at the forum. Like 20 years ago, I saw Prince at the forum. I think that was the first concert that I ever went to there. I saw Prince at the Forum. That was an amazing show. He did like literally like 6 encores. We kept thinking the show was over, and Prince would do that thing where as people were walking out thinking that the show was over, he'd come out and do another song. I've seen. I went to a show there once where it was Anderson .Paak, Thundercat, and Earl Sweatshirt at the Forum, which was a fun time. And I've seen AEW wrestling there twice. But the reason that was notable to me, the reason I was thinking about that, because as I was sitting there having this concert experience on Wednesday, I was thinking about that I have never really been to like a stadium rap show. Like Earl was rapping on the show I went to, but it wasn't really a rap show. It was kind of like more like a modern R&B, funk, soul kind of show. Duke Supreme, thank you for Submarine. Thank you for a year's worth of Submarine. So yeah, I've never seen a stadium rap show. Like I've seen, movies about them. I saw like the Hard Knock Life tour movie. Like I've seen footage of stadium rap shows, but I've never actually been to one. And that in itself is a very interesting experience for somebody who really loves rap music. Like it's hard to explain the energy that it felt like to be in that room with a bunch of people who just love rap music and get excited when certain rap songs come on. And are just really, really happy to be there. And I think a lot of this has to be underpinned. Like if we're talking about the energy of the room, a lot of this has to be underpinned by remembering people pay $400. People pay $400. I ended up sitting next to a couple, and they weren't even supposed to be in them seats. A lot of people were kind of creeping down to see where they could fill in seats. Like maybe their seats were a little further back and they were trying to creep up. Like, so I had 2 tickets, but I only used 1 seat. But then they were like, could we sit? Yeah, cool. I overheard them talking. Between the two of them, they had spent $1,100 to get into this show. Like, that is mind-blowing to me. But again, I think that informs the feeling that was in that room. Everybody who was in there was very excited to be there, and they were going to soak up every moment of it. And they were like almost predisposed to we're going to have a good time. Let's see. So quality wise for the event, right? Because the event was split into 3 sections. You had DJ Head and Friends. I had never heard of DJ Head before the beef between Kendrick and Drake. For some reason, people kept interviewing some guy named DJ Head that I had never heard of. I'm guessing, especially assuming from what I saw on this show, he's a LA DJ. So it was DJ Head and Friends. That was a section. Mustard and Friends, that was a section, and then it was Kendrick and Friends. So that's how the show was split up. The show was like 3.5 hours, like 4 hours tops. It was very compact. But there was a lot of rapping over vocals, specifically during DJ Head's part. With Mustard, I don't remember that being the case so much, but with DJ Head's folks, there was a lot of rapping over vocals. And just as a performer, as an audience member, there's just when I talk about ways that the quality of a presentation could be increased, that's a real basic one. That's a real basic one. And I thought in the Versus days when we had the Locks versus Dipset, I thought we learned that. I thought we finally saw it on a big enough display to where it was okay, it doesn't sound good if you do that. It doesn't sound good. It's not good for audience. I think for a lot of the acts, honestly, it comes down to when you started making music, when you started getting into this, was it something you ever really did on the small room street level, or did you come into it, to be a star? And I don't say that in a negative way. I'm just talking about the pathway, right? Because if you're coming into the game, you've got some buzz, you've gotten signed, and like the first shows you do are like big showcases or big features. Maybe you don't have the reps of somebody who's rapped a lot in front of people on microphones and know how to command a room. And if that's the case, yeah, maybe you have the vocals there to support the presentation. Maybe your presentation is a little more visual than it even is audio. But I think at a show like this, where like these are 10,000 rap fans, and Kendrick, you knew Kendrick was going to come out doing his stuff. Like he wasn't going to be rapping over his own vocals because he's a real rapper. Like even though, his skill level, his technical ability isn't the selling point of him necessarily, it is one of his calling cards. People know he's going to rap his ass off. And I think if you're going to be on a show like that, I think it's in your best interest to figure out how to really deliver those songs. And again, it was just a one thing I just kept noticing. It just to me seems like an easy fix that would have increased the quality of things overall. I also learned, because these are random thoughts. These are random thoughts and random notes that I took. I saw a couple of artists, and I'm gonna say these names. I not to call anybody out, but just because I think like these when I first noticed it. So like Steve Lacy, for instance, and I like Steve Lacy. I think Steve Lacy came out during Mustard set. And if I could be wrong, but if I remember correctly, like Steve Lacy has a couple of hits. A few, like, a handful of hits. It seems as if he's got so many hits, he doesn't know all the words to all of his hits. Like, he's coming out there and he's doing some of the words and, letting the vocals do the rest. And, I'm sure the way that you prepare for one of your own shows is a lot different than when you're preparing to feature on a show like this. But I don't know, to me, and this is all coming from me as a performer. Like I am analyzing a lot of what I'm seeing on a lot of levels, right? Like I am an artist. Like when you're at a show like this as an artist, I think the very first level of analysis that I'm on is I'm like constantly thinking about my place in all of this, like as somebody who makes rap music professionally and loves rap music, do I exist in this sphere? And mostly I don't, right? But that's another level I'm analyzing things on. I'm analyzing things in terms of showmanship as well. And I think it's almost like I'm somebody who can see very clearly, because of my station, I can see very clearly how fortunate an artist could find themselves in where they could be featured in a situation like this. And so there's certain sorts of behaviors or approaches where you can see, oh, this artist or that artist, they didn't take this as seriously as I would say I would have, or as seriously as other people did take it. And the judgmental part of my brain, like, oh, it's like, damn, that says something. Like that's like, I feel like you let an amazing opportunity go past if you got up there not prepared to do the best you could do, but that's me responding and analyzing from my value system, which only matters for however much it matters for, La da 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 da. What else? Okay, speaking of myself, right? Because like I said, I'm having a lot of analysis, simultaneous, parallel analysis going on in my head while this whole thing is happening. I'll go as far as to say being an artist in a situation like this, especially like a guy, I live in LA. I've lived in LA for 20 years this September. Um, I've been rapping before I moved here. My roots in LA rap run very deep, but just not in this particular area of influence. So I'm having some measure of existential crisis while I'm at this show. Believe me, like that. Let's not skip over that. But one thing that I saw that was really interesting, when I was posting about the show and posting, when I posted the video offering the driveway access and all of that, and posting that I had gotten in, and I started snapping some photos and uploading them because some people were following along with my day to see, if I was able to make it happen or not. I saw quite a few people say, "Oh, you should have been on the bill." And I'm like I love that notion, right? Like, believe me, I love my music a lot. I can say this. I can say this for 100% sure. I love my music more than I love any song I heard that day. There's not one song performed on this show that day that I love more than my music, right? So somebody saying, "Oh, you should have been on the bill." I'm like, I love that notion because I love what I do. Not one, belligerent, not one. You don't understand. Like, I really, really love my shit. Um, while I love that sentiment, I found myself wondering, like, you can't be serious. You can't seriously think that I should have been on this bill. Like if you're thinking about the people who were there to spend $400 and up to see this show, to be a part of this moment, and you think about the other performers on the bill, like, you can't seriously think that I would have made sense on this. You can't. Like, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. I did. Somebody was asking me about it on Twitter, and I did answer them. This is while I was at the show. I just have to find. Hold up, because I did tweet about this. Uncle Roppy, what up? Let's see. Okay. So here's a tweet. Somebody said, "You should have been on stage, man." And I said, "I mean, I think so too, but that probably wouldn't be a good idea." And then somebody else said, "You should be performing." And I said, "These people are not ready for sharp left turns." I would have made like 2,000 fans, so I do believe that. I believe in a room full of 11,000 rap fans. If they let me rap, I would make 2,000 fans. It would not go well. It would not go well. But I would increase fandom by 2,000 people. I truly believe that. And then somebody said, "What song would I pick to do?" And I said, Brick Body Complex, and then Microfiche, and then Ziggy Starfish. Those would be the three songs I would do. And then a guy with a cartoon hook would take me off stage over the opening theme to the Munsters. I do think that's what would have happened. I do think that's what would have happened. But I also would have planned that. See, if it was me, I would have planned that. I would have planned some wacky, zany cartoon ending to where, like, it would have made some sense for some of the people there. And then some people would be like, "Wait a minute. Did he do that on purpose? Did he bring a man with the cartoon hook to, like, we haven't seen cartoon hook man anywhere else during this show. Was this part of his presentation? Was a cartoon hook man?" So I think that would have worked on a lot of levels. I think, that would have been a big win for me. But I do not think that me actually having been on this show would have been a good idea. So, okay, yeah. Mustard had YG, Steve Lacy, and Tyler, and a bunch of folks come out. I was getting a drink. during Mustard's set, so I didn't see everybody. But Mustard was really dope. Like Mustard's another guy. Just the hits are cool. I remember this one time I was at South by Southwest, and I ended up randomly at a Snoop Dogg show in a very large basement somewhere. There had to be 1,000 people in this basement, and that was one of the times where it just hit me what it must be like to have hella hits. Like where every time you start a song, people lose their shit and start saying all the words and you don't really even have to. Now Mustard is not on that level in terms of notoriety because he's been a dude who's played the background more, but he does have hits like that. Like he was just putting on, pressing a button to play the next song and people would lose their shit because he's that talented, and has had that much success as a producer. D Funk asks, can you confirm that Tyler got the single loudest reception outside Kendrick doing Not Like Us? I'll say that for the early part of the show, Tyler definitely got the loudest reaction. Like I was walking either to get a drink or to the bathroom at the time when Tyler went on. But it was like one of them things where you like felt this slow rumble coming up and then people losing their mind when Tyler took the stage to the point where I had to like dip around and say like, who's just got on stage? Tyler's reaction was huge. Kendrick's reaction in general, like from moment first, was big. When Kendrick brought out J-Rock, that was a huge reaction. When he brought out Schoolboy Q, that was a huge reaction. They did collard greens. That entire building could have turned upside down when they did collard greens. So I would say Tyler was the biggest crowd pop early. But later on, I think the noise level got eclipsed a couple of times. Let's see what else. I think this show had the most low key but high quality camera setups I've ever seen ever. I've been to a lot of large events that had a lot of camera coverage, and usually you find that the cameras are kind of in the way. I had to look for these cameras. And you could tell that they had some because in this area that's here on top, and you'll see maybe when they start the next song, they were doing a live camera feed of the show to make sure everybody could see what was happening clearly all throughout the arena. And I would assume this also the live feed that went out to Amazon to some degree, what we're seeing even now. But I had to like look and find the cameras. They were so low key, so hidden, so out of the way, not obstructional to the show at all. Because I have critiqued this show some, like that's something I definitely want to give props to, because I think that created this awesome experience in the arena that like nobody had a bad seat in the house. And I've been to shows where there's bad seats in the house. Like I've been to big wrestling events in stadiums and arenas, and there's a lot of places where you can't see that well, or you can't see the screen so much, but I think they did a really good job of making it where wherever you were, you felt like you were part of this moment. Even if you were way, way, way up in the seats in the nosebleed section, just having such a clear view of that big, beautiful screen with these high quality camera shots, doing a live feed, switching angles, camera cut, like it was really dope. It was really, really, really dope. What else was here? Kendrick started with Euphoria, and I got really excited when he started with Euphoria, because that had me thinking he was going to actually run through all of the diss songs, and I would have laughed my head off if he had did all of them. I really wanted him to do Meet the Grams. Now, Meet the Grams is a cursed song, so it probably wouldn't have been a good idea for him to do Meet the Grams in a room full of 10, 11,000 people. But I did want him to, even though it would have been sick. It would have been sick. It would have been disgusting. It would have caused a plague to break out in the building if he had done it. But I wanted him to. I could definitely say that I wanted him to do it because I think that song is crazy. But people's stomachs would have turned inside out. So here's a fun thing, and back to my existential crises. Um, I will say something that I'm gonna. Is there any way to couch this and make it make sense to anybody in the world? Probably not. But I will say that I thought Kendrick was dressed like me in 2014. I'm sorry, I gotta say it. I think it's the truth. So this is how Kendrick was dressed, and this is how I used to dress in 2015. I think hey, again, I'm sitting there in the audience. I'm there. I'm an artist. I'm having selfish thoughts every now and then. I'm saying, you know, it. Did I invent the hoodie? No, I didn't invent the hoodie. Did I invent the hoodie and hat combination? No. Did I invent the hoodie and hat and glasses combination? I did not. Did I invent the hoodie, hat, glasses, and weird neckwear combination? Possibly. That might have been me. That might have been me. Hoodie, hat, glasses, strange neckwear. I'm just going back and forth. You can draw whatever conclusion. You can draw whatever conclusion you want to draw. I'm just presenting evidence, and I am presenting it because of my life experience. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to touch on that once or twice. Yeah, Kendrick played all of the crowd pleasers. He played all of the hits off all of his albums. I did find myself wishing he played some of his weirder songs because I like his weirder songs. But he played a lot of Damn. He played a lot of the singles off of T-Pab. Crowd pleasers for sure. So as you can see here, he brought out Ab-Soul, Schoolboy Q, and J-Rock one by one. All of those were the huge reactions. They all really seem to have a wonderful time together and get along very well. It seemed like they do genuinely mess with each other. Suki asked, what would have been the weirder songs? Like that song You off of To Pimp a Butterfly? Like loving you is complicated. Like that shit. Like that's the shit I like. I like that type of shit. It doesn't seem like they all spent an equal amount of time at rehearsals. Clearly there were rehearsals for this. I don't know if they were able to get the whole gang together to walk through everything again. Visually, positioning, stage production wise, when they were all on stage, it seemed a little random. And this was concerning to me specifically because as I was watching this whole show from the position that I was sitting in, I kept seeing it there. Like you see these little boxes on the stage. I'm gonna go back just a little bit here. If I can pause it at the right time. I think I might have missed the shot. Trying to see if right, okay. That might be a good place to stop it. I'll try to find it again. But there's these little boxes on stage. And during the whole show, before Kendrick came out, I'm like, why they got all these little boxes on stage? I didn't really understand it. Like, so you can see these little ones here, and you had these bigger ones here, and you had these big kind of squares a couple of places on the stage. And you realize a couple of minutes into Kendrick's set that's where all the pyro was coming from. And there was a lot of pyro. And I particularly got concerned about these gentlemen while they were on stage during his set, because in my heart, I was like, oh my God, are we going to see like a Michael Jackson pyro hair on fire incident live? Is somebody about to get hurt? And Ab-Soul, he even said, off mic, he's like, you ain't gonna do no more pyro, are you? You know I can't see nothing. Like he hadn't gotten walked through where the safety areas were. So this box right here was like a safety area. And there's another one you can't see right now because of my webcam frame. Matter of fact, I will disappear that just for a second. There's another safety area right here. So like those are the places where you could be and not get hurt. And they didn't seem to all know that. And I was deathly afraid that something was going to explode, and things were going to get real dark. Things were going to get real dark. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. And yeah, speaking of pyro, I think one thing that underscores how amazing a performer Kendrick is, and I got to give him his props because, like I said, even though it's not his main selling point, he is a technical wizard on the microphone. He really is. Like, he is a hell of a recording artist and a hell of a rapper in terms of like actually rapping, elocuting, enunciating, projecting on a microphone with very intricate patterns, with all these different voice inflections. What he does is not easy. What he does is not easy at all. And I was thinking about, damn, imagine having to be a master of just that craft in itself, but then to have the poise to do it while everything around you is on fire. Like, while there are fireballs literally coming up out of the floor 2 to 3 feet away from you on all sides. There were giant fireballs. There were like crazy laser light intense blasts. There were like 4th of July fireworks like right in his face. And I got to give like extreme props for being able to maintain that focus and technical mastery in the midst of like literal chaos. Like, I think that's really something else. That's really something else. Okay, so then there's I gotta give one more critique here, and this is not an easy thing to talk about, but it's something that I really found myself thinking about a lot immediately after the show. I actually ran into a buddy of mine on the way out of the show, and this next part came up, and I had thoughts about it. So he brought out Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre got a big reaction too. If I'm gonna be honest, Dr. Dre got a huge reaction, but I didn't like that he brought out Dr. Dre. I personally did not like that. I think that part of the whole narrative with Kendrick and Drake has been that Kendrick is trying to expose Drake for being an abuser on a lot of different levels. And I think that bringing out Dr. Dre, at the very least, it muddies that. Like it like Dr. Dre, like, and not to, you can never take away the stuff like the achievements that Dr. Dre has had in the business, in music and all. You can never take any of that away. Like that's not even my point. But Dr. Dre beat the hell out of a woman in public in the 90s. Her name is Dee Barnes. I don't know if everybody knows the story, but she tells it a lot. She tells this story a lot. Like, it's not a secret. There were interviews where he was asked about it and responded jokingly. They had Eminem reference it in a song when he first came out, that it was sort of treated like a joke. But he like beat and choked this woman and slammed her up against the wall. She was a music video show host. I used to watch her show when I was little. There was a show called Pump It Up, hosted by D Barnes. And Dr. Dre beat the hell out of her in public because she said something that he didn't like or something like that. This is a well-documented story. Nobody's ever denied it. And as far as I know, he's never acknowledged it. He's never apologized. He's never tried to make amends. D Barnes was literally out here a couple of weeks ago, like doing a GoFundMe for issues she's been dealing with. She's never been able to really get a job in the industry again. And yeah, was this 30 years ago? Absolutely. But it's like, what is the narrative? Like, what makes some abuse more okay than other? And look, if Drake's got an underage pedo ring, yes, throw him under the jail. Of course, in degrees, that's worse. Like, I'm not trying to equate those two things at all. But I am trying to like one thing that ends up bothering me about a lot of the philosophical, political stuff with Kendrick is like, I think he tries to control the conversation, or he tries to have conversations on his own terms. And I think some of these conversations involve issues where you can't just talk about it when you want to and talk about it how you want to. Especially if some of the things you're saying is that certain people should die. You know what I'm saying? Certain people should be apologetic or should make amends or be held responsible to how they treat women. Like, where's the line? And I think that when you bring out Dr. Dre, you blur the line. And is blurring the line criminal? No. Blurring the line is not a criminal act. Blurring the line doesn't take away the magnitude of what you've been able to accomplish. But I think it does make it problematic. Like, some of us pay attention to this type of stuff. Some of us do. Not everybody, but some of us do. And I just think, like, we got to have conversations about some of this stuff in order for it to be understood. In order for like the nuance to be understood. Like, nobody is expecting for anyone to only associate with perfect angels. And honestly, Kendrick is not the moral arbiter of anything at all. But some people do believe he is, and I think sometimes he enjoys the benefits of that. And I just think there's a lot of responsibility in that. And it's like, if you're going to take that on, you got to be ready to be responsible. And sometimes, like, the conversation is going to include people it might be difficult for you to talk about. For Kendrick, it might be difficult for him to talk about shit that Dr. Dre has been accused of or has been documented. And I know it's tough, right? Because it's LA, it's the rap business, it's Aftermath, it's all of that. Like, it's a lot of the same stuff you've seen unfolding with Diddy, where like there's been accusations about shit with him for years, but a lot of people have not been wanting to say anything because he has so much power in the industry. He has so much of a influence that it can literally like start and end careers. It can change lives. And so people compartmentalize and put the stuff they've heard behind them so they could take advantage of opportunities. And to be real, in a capitalistic society, we all do that to some degree. Like, ain't no such thing as ethical capitalism, right? We don't think about the little third world hands that put our phones together. Like, we don't be thinking about that while we're going through life. So to a certain degree, I understand the compartmentalization. It's just, again, when you get to this level where you are taking on the responsibility of trying to have a moral conversation, you got to be ready to have it. You got to be ready to have the conversation, and not just on your own terms. And so I just wasn't a fan of him bringing out Dr. Dre, because it just put me in this mindset of like, okay, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? What are we doing here? Like, I just don't think you can necessarily have it both ways. And to me, it's like I would just love to have some kind of understanding of like, where is the line? Just some understanding of that. And that's the hard part. Now, speaking of Drake, I saw a lot of people online saying that this whole thing was about Drake, saying it was Drake's funeral. And as I was watching it, I was thinking about how Drake's name hardly came up at all during this whole thing. I think, Drake came up when he performed Euphoria. Drake came up when he performed that little bit of 616 in LA. He did Not Like Us a bunch of times at the end. And yes, those are all Drake diss songs. But this event didn't feel like it was about Drake. This event felt like it was about LA. Like, this wasn't a room full of combative energy. This was like celebratory. I think the realest shit Kendrick said on stage that afternoon was that we ain't been right since Nipsey died. We ain't been right since Kobe died. And I'll just tell you, from somebody living in LA, like, these are mythical figures that have like, that people have a real emotional, psycho-spiritual connection to. I mean, and again, we're gonna talk about Kobe, then we also gotta talk about his allegations or whatever. But that's different too, because all of that played out in court to whatever degree that played out in court. Like, I think there is something to be said about the justice system having a say in things. I don't remember how all of that played out. But I don't want to harp on that too much. I just want to say that I do think that Kendrick was right to call out those two things in terms of the feeling of being in LA and being a part of like I don't want to say the hip hop community, because I'm not even sure everybody at this concert would like think about themselves that way. But these are black people who live in LA. It's a lot of black people. It's Juneteenth. It felt like a celebration of being black and living in LA. And all of the, there's a certain amount of contradictions that just come in that. I mean, like, Kendrick's obviously a smart guy. Kendrick is a thoughtful guy. Kendrick rolls with a lot of game bangers too. Like, and those two things are not mutually exclusive. I think life is complicated out here to a certain degree. And then, you had Nipsey, you had Kobe, you had the pandemic. I mean, and the pandemic happened everywhere. I'm just saying, I don't think that there's been a lot of public forum to process some of the difficult things that black people, poor people, working class people in this city have experienced in the last few years. And this felt like an opportunity to do that. Unfortunately for Drake, all of this processing was done to the lyrics of the song, vehemently pointing him out to be a pedophile. But that just happened to be what it is. That happened to be what it is. Everybody seemed genuinely happy to be there on a Juneteenth Wednesday afternoon. But remember, I can't call it a funeral. I can't call it a funeral because I don't think people spend $1,100 to go to a funeral. That's not how people operate. I think people went here to feel something. I think this was really like a joyous afternoon. You know, a joyous afternoon. Um, so I mean, and I, all told, I was really happy and felt fortunate to be there, to be a part of that moment. Like hip hop doesn't have a lot of moments that are like that. Um, because even though this is obviously, this is Kendrick's thing, it was Kendrick and friends. I think this was about more than just him. And I think he made it that way. And I think that was a really smart and thoughtful thing to do, was to make it bigger than him. And he brought out a bunch of people at the end from different gangs. Um, brought out a bunch of people who might not get along and try to do this as a show of unity. And I think that was really dope. So I was happy to be there. I didn't have to spend $400. I didn't have to spend $1,100. Thanks to the morning show, all I had to do was burn a few hundred calories getting there. And that was the pop out. That was it. That was it. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. And this has been The Morning Show.